All right, guys. Everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Noah Zepeda with Forging Futures Idaho and Idaho Manufacturing Alliance. And this is the Success in Your Aero career session featuring HR professionals and employees in the early stages of their career. So the intent of this session is really to help you gain a better understanding of how to get your foot in the door, what to watch for as an applicant, and tips for success in your career. You're also going to have the chance to ask questions, so you can type those in the chat, and we'll ask your questions to the panel at the end of the session. Joining us today, we have Barry Stewart, HR Director at AccraFab. Barry has been at AccraFab since 2001 as HR Director and has seen AccraFab grow and adapt over the years to best serve their customers. His favorite thing about working at AccraFab is having the ability to coach and mentor the incredible team, seeing team members grow both professionally and personally. And we also have Lane. He's a mechanical engineer at Micron, and he is a graduate from Montana Tech in Butte, Montana. Recently began working for Micron Technology, and Lane has worked in nanotechnology research and enjoys working with his hands. He's an avid golfer, science fiction reader, and a happy dog father. So thanks for joining us, guys. For the format of this panel, we're going to ask questions to either one of you or to the group. I'll preface it with saying this is for Barry or this is for Lane. And you guys, honestly, because it's just us three, it's going to be an intimate conversation. Feel free to take as much as you like to answer the question. So that being said, to kick us all off for all, and maybe I'll just say, we'll start with Barry and then Lane. What are some ways a college student can get their foot into aerospace or aerospace manufacturing before or after graduation?
Well, depending on what sector of the business they're looking to get into, we do precision sheet metal fabrication here. So it's mechanical engineering 101 is what we do here. Aerospace is about 30% of our business, and it's growing. So if you want to get into that side of the mechanical engineering, then I would, whether it's with AccraFab or other companies, I would sure start out, probably your senior year and starting to talk to potential future employers, kind of depending on where you want to live, where you plan on living, and I would touch base with them sooner rather than later and start developing a relationship. I've got a few that have been bugging me for about a year and a half. And we've actually hired one of those. The other one isn't quite ready yet, just finishing up school. But, that's what I would do. I would start early. Kind of depends on what you want to do. We're a contract manufacturer here, so we're not a design company. We don't design our own proprietary parts. We do work closely with the customers' engineers in design of their product for manufacturability. So, there's all kinds of things that you can do. We know Boeing kind of runs the design factors for aerospace, can't make a whole lot of changes to their parts without going through a very lengthy stream of authorizations. But we work closely with them.
Thanks, Barry. And thanks for
start early.
Yeah. And thanks for also mentioning what it is that you and your company do. I probably should have also prefaced, if you could explain a little bit about what you do. Is there anything that you'd like to add about your company as well? Or what
as AccraFab as a company, we've been around 40 years now. Kind of our bread and butter are sheet metal enclosures, smaller enclosures that house the electronic components, whether it's an aerospace function or a power monitoring, power distribution function, electronics, test and measurement equipment, medical, any and all of that stuff. So we've got 165 employees, and we just again brought on another engineer. We've added two new engineers, two new positions in the past year, and getting ready to bring on the third one here.
Awesome.
So,
and as HR director, you've been there since 2001. And could you just explain a little bit more about your role as well as HR director?
okay. Yeah, I have been here for quite a while. I've hired, other than the 15 or 20 that are ahead of me that were here before I started, I've hired everybody else. So we're kind of a big family here. My role at AccraFab is number one, to as an HR director, to protect the company, protect the employees, and with a heavy emphasis on training. But in a smaller company, I wear a whole lot of hats. I also oversee the janitorial. I oversee all the lighting. I oversee the roof. If we have problems leaking roof, or like right now, I've been getting bids to replace the roof. I oversee the facilities, landscaping and mowing and all of that, in addition to all of the chemical waste management and training and safety. So our big push here, though, is on training, and especially if you learn anything out there, you guys learn about WCM, world-class manufacturing. We are implementing this and have been for the past year, and it has done wonders for us. It's all common sense stuff.
Awesome.
And this is the book that we go out of. Our number one customer asked us to partner with them, and it has been fantastic.
What's the title of the book? I couldn't really read it.
World-Class Manufacturing, The Lessons of Simplicity Applied, by Richard J. Schonberger.
Perfect.
Great book.
We'll pass it along in the comments for the audience to make sure they go to their Barnes and Noble and check that out.
And also here at AccraFab, I'm one of 6 of us on the executive team also. So, we make the long-term decisions for AccraFab and our employees also.
Awesome. Thank you, Barry.
So that's kind of a little bit of everything I do.
Yeah, it's a all hands on deck from Barry.
That's for sure.
Like, yeah.
That's for sure.
Perfect. And Lane, could you also preface with a little bit of what you do at Micron, and then maybe talk about your examples or what you think would be some ways a college student can get their foot into aerospace manufacturing before or after graduation?
Yeah, of course. So I graduated from Montana Tech last year, actually. So I graduated during the pandemic and started with was lucky enough to get a job with Micron over the course of that summer in 2020. At Micron, I am a probe integration engineer. That's my job title. But kind of similar to Barry, that job title has a lot of hats. And so, so basically what my job is as a mechanical engineer here at Micron is a lot of my job is communicating between different companies or individuals and internally with Micron to try to design these different types of equipment that we desire or is our end goal. And a little bit on how to maybe get into this area, into either aerospace or manufacturing. As Barry said, try to get in contact with the companies that you're interested in as early as you can in your college or your high school process, or just your early in your career. Basically, so what I did during college was I tried to join these different student activity clubs. There's some for aerospace. I know there's some for manufacturing, different types of that. I know, and at my school that I went to, we actually had our own little machine shop area, and we would have different personnel come in on site, and they would train their students through that. There's almost every type of student club that involves manufacturing or designing or building will have, you'll have the ability to get some of that knowledge and training that could be incredibly useful for employers, or would be attractive to employers to have on a resume, and because you have a step up. So that's kind of my recommendation. If you're already graduating, or you're or it's a little too late to join those student clubs, it's not the end of the world. You can still get in to this field, either aerospace manufacturing. Just try to tailor your resume and your cover letter to highlight anything that would be relevant to those two fields, and any type of previous experience you've had, whether you've helped your father, grandfather, and you know how to use an end mill, or any types of things like that will help you out. And just keep applying, and eventually you'll get a call, and it'll work out.
Perfect. Thanks, Lane. And this could probably, so going on that, we had a question come in, and it was relating to electrical engineering internships, but do you have any, and maybe for Lane, do you have any experience or any advice on pursuing an internship? And maybe Barry, do you have any insight on like offering internships for potential college students who want to maybe understand a little bit more about manufacturing, get some experience under their belt?
Yeah, I'll answer that first, if that's all right, Barry.
You go for it.
Okay. So yeah, when in my college, I'm not sure where you're at in the process of this, but we had a lot of different career fairs, and these employers would come in and they would do short little interviews with people they were interested in for their summer employment jobs, or maybe their full-time career jobs. And that would be my number one place I would eventually start to look, because it's a lot easier to develop a relationship with a contact at a company in person, face to face, rather than applying online to internships you just submit your resume. So if that's a possibility for you, I would 100% take that route. That was the route I took during college, and I was able to get into some doors like that, and opens up that relationship for you. If your college doesn't have anything that would be relevant, try to communicate. Say if you're talking to a mechanical engineering, majority mechanical company, a lot of these companies still do have electrical engineers that are required, and so they might, even though they're not saying they're hiring for those electrical engineers, they still might offer. So I would definitely communicate what you're looking for to those companies, and they might be able to, I don't know, shoot your resume on to someone that might be more relevant or could offer you that position.
Mhm. Barry, did you have any insight on just how a college student could pursue an internship coming from like an HR standpoint?
You bet. Yeah, a couple different ways. I know the question was kind of geared towards electrical engineering, which is not what we do here, but in general, I know I started out the process of looking for interns, going through, being in Spokane here, going through the schools. They've got a way you can connect into the schools looking for interns and posts for interns at Gonzaga, at Whitworth, at Eastern Washington. And we have been really lucky, and we do one intern at a time. And we started this a number of years ago, and both the interns that we've had are now full-time AccraFab engineers. So we're going to start the process of looking to fill the next intern spot. And what I will do is I will go out to the Eastern board, the Whitworth board, the Gonzaga board, and I'll post that we're looking for an internship, a mechanical engineering internship, and you know, usually get a pretty good response to that. Word of mouth is also another one. If you know, if somebody's looking for an internship and they know somebody that works at a manufacturer, especially, you know, an aerospace manufacturer or any manufacturer, you know, have them put in a good, that's how we got the very first one was, we were working with an individual from Gonzaga, and this person decided not to go the intern route, but recommended another person. And that guy is here, and he's just awesome. You know, go through your schools. They have boards that you can look at where employers will post for internships. And, you know, it certainly doesn't hurt to fire out some resumes, fire out some emails to the companies that you're looking at also. But I think a lot of companies do work through those school board social media sites, basically. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I was looking for it and I don't have it in my email here.
Let's see if we can do a little digging on our end and maybe share it with the audience as well.
Mhm.
It's also probably a sigh of relief knowing that it's a mutual interest from both parties and not so much for the person seeking the internship. Yeah, it's a two-way, because the intern is helping the company and potentially could become one of the better employees there or one of the long-standing employees there. So
as with any employment, it's got to work both for the employer and for the employee.
Exactly.
To make it work. So
exactly. And just a quick plug for anybody as well, the audience, if you want to share your resumes with Forging Futures at idmfg.org, and we can put that in the chat. You can also share that with us. And if there's anybody who's out there looking for interns this summer or next semester or whenever, we can share that information as well. We'll put that in the chat. Let's see, Barry, this one's for you. Is there anything that an applicant can do to stand out in their job search? Like when you're looking through resumes or applications, is there anything that they can do to stand out in their search?
Well, there's lots of things that I depend, and some of it's depending on the position that I'm looking for. On to tell you the truth, on the engineering side, our favorite individuals to hire have just come out of school. You know, where a lot of other companies, they don't want to hire until someone's got some experience. We like to take those individuals that have graduated with their degree, start them at the ground level. As a matter of fact, we start them out on the shop floor. They're working in departments for the first month or so, learning our processes. Tremendously huge in helping them be successful. So we like to hire on the brand new green individuals and train them, you know, how we like to train them. So you know, just graduating with a degree, you know, don't be afraid to apply at AccraFab. You know, again, the experience is not necessarily what we're looking for. The eagerness to learn, and we'll teach it. So, and how to apply that schooling to what we do here at AccraFab, both aerospace and non-aerospace. Of course, I could go into a long list of things, what to do and not to do for any job. And, you know, personally, when I look at a resume, if I see spelling errors, and none of us are perfect, but if I see spelling errors, that really kind of makes me put that one into another pile to review maybe later. So please watch your spelling. You know, and with spell check, there's really no need for spelling errors, but double check and double review those resumes and make sure that that everything is as it should be. That's one of my personal things. You know, somebody else it may not matter to, but that's my personal thing. And in general, when I'm looking to fill a position here, you know, I like, what I don't want to see is someone who's had 7 jobs in the last 5 years. So either, you know, they haven't made their mind up what they want to do. And it could very well happen here if we bring them on, or there might be other things going on that are causing it. So, you know, again, I've been here 20 years. The employer I was with prior to coming to AccraFab, I was there 20 years. So I kind of like the stability of seeing the stability on resumes that, you know, maybe others don't look so much at that, but that's, again, my own personal preference.
Good to know. The parting thoughts on that are, you know, don't be scared to shoot your shot. If you're a recent graduate, you know, that's something that could be very appealing, especially at AccraFab. And also first impressions count. So do the spell checks.
Yeah.
So that you don't get into the review later pile.
One of the engineers that we just hired had been trying with some of the bigger companies in the Spokane area here, and was getting shot down by all of them for just not having any experience at all. And man, I tell you, if they would have brought this kid on, they would have seen what you know, what he's capable of. So yeah, don't worry about the experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Barry.
We'll give you experience.
Yeah, yeah. And Lane, kind of on that same thought, but like standing out, was there anything that you focused on or you really like drove home when you were applying that you think maybe helped you stand out a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess not. One thing I did want to, and something I always have heard when I was growing up was, or going through school, was being able to effectively communicate between individuals. I think engineers as a whole get this kind of stereotype where we can't talk, we can't public speak. And I mean, I think I am kind of like that. I do have some difficulties public speaking or stuff like that, but I always kind of try to get outside my comfort zone and do speak in front of others and do try to work on that. And so one thing I did throughout my undergrad and my master's was try to get better at that kind of soft skill there. And I think that can definitely help you stand out. In my short time here at Micron and in my career so far, that's definitely been helpful for me to be able to communicate an idea or a thought that to an individual who might not know what I'm talking about. And I think Barry might agree with this or not, I'm not sure, but I think that could be a very valuable skill, is just being able to effectively communicate in all aspects, not just resolving conflict, not all of like being able to communicate your design to someone, public speaking. It can help wonders in your career, in my opinion, of my short career so far.
I would agree 100%. You're spot on, Wayne. It's all about communication.
And that I'm a big fan of soft skills. So I was going to follow up on that soft skill conversation and Barry with that comment, and I'll come back to you, Lane, on this. But is there, Barry, is there any soft skill that stands out to you that would be most critical? Like if you had to prioritize them for success at AccraFab?
Well, you know, at AccraFab, we operate under a set of core values and guiding principles here. And number one on the list is treat each other with respect and dignity. You know, that's a soft skill that you should think should be a given. But, you know, 165 employees, 165 different personalities. You know, sometimes people don't realize how they're coming across to other individuals. So a soft skill that I really work with our employees on here is body language. Body language can be up to 80% of your communication. So if, you know, and I think we all know people that, you know, that we will talk with, and if they start getting their hackles raised up, you can see them start, their body language start to change. Always be aware of how you're coming across. You know, people will read you and not hear you just from the way you come across. You know, especially when certain situations come up. So that some people come by that, you know, naturally. Others really have to work on that and think about that at all times. So kind of figure out where you're at and how you work with your body language, and you know, and see if you need to continue to monitor that. Communication, we've got, I don't know if anybody out there has heard of the 6 boxes business processes, but box number 1 and 6 boxes is expectations and feedback. So we either in our positions or anybody needs to understand what their expectations are. For them to be able to do their job, they need to understand the expectations, and they need the feedback from their supervisors, their leads, their managers, as to how it's going with meeting those expectations. Absolutely critical. So for a soft skill, don't feel bad about asking questions, even if it's the same question that you asked a half hour ago. We would much rather have you ask it than assume. So don't be afraid to ask questions. No question is a dumb one.
Awesome.
So those are some of the top soft skills that you know, that we look at here at AccraFab.
Perfect.
So
Great. Thanks, Barry. And Lane, you mentioned that you were working on just kind of your speaking, but now that you're in the workforce and you're at Micron, are there any soft skills that maybe you didn't anticipate that you would need in your career, or is there anything that you're starting to work on to help you in your position, maybe in the workplace culture?
Yeah, that's a good question. One thing that I did anticipate, but I'm also still trying to kind of work on and improve on, is time management. That was, which I think would be considered a soft skill, but that is kind of came up a lot more than it did during my college career or my education, and because I think you just overall have more time as a college student. You can be able to work around your schedule and stuff, but in my professional career thus far, I have to carefully block out when my work needs to be done. If you're managing multiple projects at a time, you got to ensure that you have enough time to complete before a certain due date. And so that's something I've been that wasn't it wasn't a challenge, but something I have to be incredibly focused on and ensure that I'm doing everything properly and getting that taken care of. So one thing I would recommend is if you didn't pay as much attention during college or your schooling, kind of like how I did with your time management, make sure to focus up on that and just keep progress or keep track of all your various projects and make sure that everything's being completed in a timely manner.
Awesome.
Yeah, very, very important. Good job.
Stephen asked, do your companies have both academic year and summer internships? On the topic of internships earlier in the conversation. And I'll start with Barry, since this might be a little bit more of your cup of tea.
Our internships would have no seasons. It's when we're in the position to bring an intern on, could be anytime.
Okay.
Any time of the year. It is, if I understood the question.
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah, that was the question. It was
okay.
more about whether it was seasonal or not. And Lane, I don't know if you would know this response or not, but do you have any thoughts on it?
I do know we have summer internships. I would believe that there would be like fall or spring quarter internships as well. I know some companies do that. I think Micron does that. Don't quote me on that though. I know Micron is always looking for different types of internships. So if you're curious about that, I believe you can find that on their career website. I'm sorry, I don't have a solid answer for that though.
No, that's totally fine. And if anything, yeah, I mean, even it doesn't hurt to, like Barry's point, to just, shoot your shot, knock on the door and see if there is an opportunity that they're looking and you end up being the right fit. Let's see, there's a couple more minutes left in this. And Barry, I'm gonna ask you this question, and then I'll
Okay.
adapt it to Lane. But are there any trends that you're noticing that are emerging, like that maybe weren't so common 5 years ago or even like 2 years ago, but you're starting to see come up now in terms of the hiring process for an applicant to be aware of?
Let's see. Well, I can speak to to our engineering department here specifically. AccraFab has made a conscious effort to grow our engineering department, adding additional new engineering openings. That is a huge change from say even 3 years ago. And it's paying its benefits now. Being a manufacturer, we're always watching our direct labor. The direct labor is the only way you make money in a manufacturing plant like this. However, that support, the indirect labor, which the engineering department is, can set up the manufacturing for complete success by properly onboarding a new project or new parts or whatever it might be, and set engineering up or set manufacturing up for success. And we're really seeing the benefits to that now. So for AccraFab, that's a bit different than it was even 3 years ago. Not a bit, quite a bit different. In general, the past year's been goofy with COVID, and as we come out of this pandemic, we're having a difficult time hiring entry-level individuals. It's easier to hire an engineer than it is a green entry-level machine operator right now, believe it or not. And that is different. Not what we were expecting as we started to come out of the pandemic. So those are some recent trends that have changed a bit. Otherwise, the other things have stayed pretty consistent, I think.
Okay, that's interesting about the entry-level positions. That's yeah, any thoughts on that, or is that just
Well, I got thoughts, but this probably isn't the place to air those thoughts out.
No, but that's okay. It's yeah, no, it's good insight into just kind of like how things are changing, and sometimes as of last year, there's been a lot of unforeseen changes.
Mhm.
And I mean, it is kind of just a process of adapting sometimes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Barry. And then Lane, was there anything that you experienced while you were applying or while you were getting ready to start applying that maybe you were told was something in terms of how to approach it, how to apply, but you found was not necessarily resonating so much during the time that you were applying?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it's during the application process, it's kind of tough because if you don't have a lot of connections or person like other individuals who might be able to refer you to a company, it can be difficult getting your foot in that door. And with applying online, you don't really communicate with anybody. You submit your resume, you retype your resume in another form online. So it kind of gets repetitive. It's kind of drones on and on when you're applying for different jobs, and it's a considerably long process. As far as things that I was told, one thing I didn't like to do was write cover letters or retailer cover letters. But I did anyways for every job that I applied to. And I believe it worked. I think it worked out. I think it helps the HR personnel narrow down at the end. I'll let Barry confirm that, but that was always my opinions on it. Your resume gets you in the door, your cover letter kind of finalizes that job for you. So make sure to don't just submit your blank resume, like kind of try to retailer it to fit that job description. That was something I did during that whole process. Same with your cover letter, because if you're just submitting a cover letter or a resume that's not tailored, it might not check the boxes on their for that specific job description. Am I close on that, Barry? That was kind of how I always thought.
Yeah, you are. And I, as far as cover letters go, a full page cover letter is not necessary. Keep it kind of shorter, at least for me. Keep it shorter and to the point, and specific to the job description that's out there for that position, and not a generic full page cover letter. After the first paragraph, it's usually got me or it doesn't. And then, I'm also looking at the resume too. It's just as important.
Awesome. Yeah, kind of different, but it refers back to something Barry had said earlier about, people changing jobs 7 years, or they have like 7 jobs in their resume. And I've seen something come up a lot about imposter syndrome, which is just workers going out into the workforce and not feeling like they're properly suited for the environment, or they don't feel like they're trained enough. Is there anything that you would offer in terms of insight, Lane? Maybe, and I'm not saying that you've had this experience, but just kind of coming into a new environment, and then Barry, as you've seen your company grow over the years, and maybe there is those soft skills or those body language, kind of impressions that they're giving, but they worked on them to overcome them and understand that it was something that they had to address. Is there something that you think that you could offer for somebody that's coming in new and maybe feels like they're either not a fit, or they're hitting a brick wall, and they're still pretty early in their careers? Lane, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Barry on that thought.
I mean, definitely. When I first started with Micron, I am working with incredibly brilliant people, and you're kind of like a little overwhelmed too, because you're working with these amazing individuals, and then you're also uh, trying to just get your first step in with the company and uh, try to swallow all this different knowledge and try to retain it. So it's definitely a challenge coming into a company. At least for me, it was, and it's very overwhelming the first few months, trying just to get up to speed on everything, and then like successfully contribute. That was my big goal. I just wanted to, when I got into the company, I wanted to try to retain all this different knowledge, and then try to become a valuable resource to my coworkers. That was the one thing I wanted to do, and I'd let my supervisor know that's my goal. In the first couple months, I just want it to people to come to me for a question on something, and that kind of like lifts your spirits, because that means they rely on you somewhat. So to get to that point, if you're hitting a brick wall or having these obstacles, I would just keep attempting to ask questions, keep shadowing different employees, and eventually you'll get there. You may not feel it, but I think you eventually will be where you should be with that company, and you'll have that knowledge, and people will come to you, and you'll be a valuable resource for that company.
Awesome. That's really good. Thanks, Lane. And Barry?
I think Lane really hit on a good point there. Don't be afraid to have goals, and also don't be afraid to not have goals yet. You may not know exactly where you want to end up, but if you have goals, please let the employer know what those goals are. That way, you can work with a plan with your supervisor, your manager, to get you to where you want to be. That's part of that manager or supervisor's job, is to work with and get those individuals where they want to be. That's the fun part about it. If someone, as far as working on soft skills and things like that, everybody's different. Probably the best piece of advice that I could give somebody coming into the workforce is be coachable. Okay, there's a lot of knowledge at Micron. There's a lot of knowledge here at AccraFab. Those individuals have already gone through the battle to get that knowledge, and glean as much of that knowledge from them as you can. And again, be coachable. Don't be defensive if someone's giving some constructive criticism. As long as it's done professionally and not personal, and learn from that. It's okay. That's how we learn, getting into our positions and growing into our positions. So be coachable, and if someone's coming in and they're rough around the edges, then certainly I'm going to work with them. Their manager's going to work with them, or supervisor, and vast majority of the time we can get everybody on the same page.
Perfect. Thank you, Barry, and thank you, Lane. And just to recap on that, I think one of the things, Lane, you touched on this, and Barry, you echoed it, was just relaying that information, relaying that goal to your employer, and saying, so there's intention there, there's communication, and then there's an openness, there's a coachability. So I think you both hit the nail on the head with that. But I think sometimes it goes, hearing it from someone like yourselves makes a huge difference for someone who may be feeling like they're alone in this environment. So I appreciate you both saying that. Gentlemen, we're coming up on time. Actually, we are on time. So I just wanted to say thank you for, I really enjoyed this conversation. There were a lot of other questions that were coming in and we had, but just for the sake of everyone's time, thank you for your insight, for your time, and hopefully we've made an impact on changing the understanding of the workforce opportunities that exist out there for the future
Mhm.
generation.
Yeah,
No,
thank
thanks
you,
for
Noah.
having me.
Yeah, and Lane, nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you
Noah,
too, Barry.
thanks for facilitating.
Of course. Thank you guys. All right, you all take
Okay.
care.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.